love you. All the good times we had, I wish I could repeat them for the past 3 months. Love and feeling a little feeble.
What's good, y'all? I took a... It was a long day. Let's say that. It was a long day. It was a long day. Car looking is not fun. I can't say I got something to eat. I did take a little nap. Some things happened. I was looking at cars. Yeah. With that being said, Jesus. The sad death of Def Jam Records. I remember Jay-Z. Remember Joey Badass. Jay-Z wanted to sign Joey Badass, and Jay-Z was like, "I don't want to be signed to Def Jam. I want to be the next Def Jam." I'm like, "No, you don't." Def Jam didn't do a lot of people right. So with that being said, let's get into it. Be sure I'm gonna subscribe to my boy. Let's get into it.
Today we're going to look at and cover one of the most legendary hip-hop labels of all time. I mean, just how huge is Def Jam Records in the history of the hip-hop music industry? Can you think of another record label who even has past presidents that are famous? Probably not. Lyor Cohen was the first Def Jam from 1988 to 1998, and Lyor was followed by Kevin Liles in 1998 into 2004, which was the year that none other than Jay-Z took over, until 2007. Then music industry icon L.A. Reid moved into the Def Jam office from 2007 to 2012, and even Eminem's manager, who helped Eminem form Shady Records, stepped into Def Jam president position between 2018 and 2020. Next question: how many hip-hop labels can really claim to create a high-selling fighting video game when you get to pick from DMX, Ghostface Killah, Method Man, Redman, Nori, Capone, Joe Budden, Scarface, Ludacris, WC, and DJ Funkmaster Flex? All of these artists were all signed to Def Jam around the time that the legendary video game, if you were a kid at the time, Def Jam Vendetta, was released in 2003. If it wasn't for Def Jam in the 80s and the 90s, we would have never had the hip-hop icons that have inspired millions, from people like LL Cool J, Slick Rick, Redman, and Foxy Brown, to major groups like Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, and Onyx. But unfortunately, as history has unfolded from its origin in 1984, it's also unraveled in more recent years with a plethora of performers that want to head in the opposite direction and get themselves as far away from this historic record label. The artist complaints have stacked up over and over again. The proof is in the pudding just if you look at the results, and with some of their past rosters using exit strategies as proclaiming that they're dropping their final album in favor of fatherhood, to retiring from rapping altogether and becoming the one that interviews rappers instead of making the albums that get publicized. So let's take a look at the historic birth of this milestone in rap music, the presumed death of Def Jam Records, which is what it seems like right now, and why I believe this to be the case. Before we get into all the drama, let's just take a moment to celebrate the come up of this monumental hip-hop brand, more than just a label, called Def Jam. After listening to It's Yours by T. La Rock, Russell Simmons, who was already really recognized in the New York hip-hop scene, joined forces with Rick Rubin at Def Jam.
I'm gonna get a PS5 sometime.
The two collected demo tapes from up-and-coming rappers to build up the collection of artists that they would launch into the music marketplace. Rick Rubin explained how he first met Russell Simmons, who was already the go-to guy to book New York City rappers in the 80s for shows. Russell and I met at a party for a TV show called Graffiti Rock. It was a pilot episode, and Run DMC appeared on it, and the Treacherous Three appeared on it, and it was in a loft somewhere on the west side in the teens. But I remember being really excited when I met him because, as a fan of hip-hop, he had already, his name on a lot of the rap records that already came out. Curtis Blow, Run DMC, so I was excited to meet him. And when I met Russell, it turns out that It's Yours was his favorite record, which was a surprise to me. And he was really surprised when he met me because He didn't picture me as I was, based on what the record sounded like. Russell was 5 years older than me, and he was already established in the music business, and I had no experience whatsoever. So even then, he was the face of hip-hop. Even before Def Jam, he was the face of hip-hop. It's true. In 1984, the same year that Def Jam got off the ground with both Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin behind it, the label earned their first hit song thanks to LL Cool J's I Need a Beat, a single that quickly sold an astonishing 100,000 copies on the brand new independent rap label. What originally drove the creation of Def Jam in the first place was the desire of Russell and Rick to prove that hip-hop music in the 80s wasn't just some sort of temporary fad, and that they could fill this niche that the mainstream record labels were missing out on and totally ignoring. But those major labels definitely began to take notice when LL Cool J, who was only 17 years old, released his debut album in 1985, and it sold gold in its first 5 months of release. That's 500,000 copies. Speaking of youth, when Def Jam was founded in 1984, Rick Rubin was a 21-year-old NYU art school student from Long Island, whose music was getting made in his dorm room. Queens native Russell Simmons was only 27 years old and has expressed how entering into business with Rick Rubin's Def Jam made more sense than to start his own record label imprint. He had a drum machine full of hot joints. I mean, his whole DMX machine was full of hit records, from what I could hear. He was a smart kid, and he was part of a band called the Beastie Boys, who I met later. They were phenomenal, and he was a great producer. He had produced that record It's Yours by Tila Rock, and after he produced that record, he started receiving tapes, and one of the tapes was LL Cool J's I Need a Beat. He remixed it or redid it, and it became our first release for Def Jam Records. The more I got to know Rick, the more I felt that my efforts should go into the partnership and not into a separate company. Because I already had Run DMC and Houdini and Jimmy Spice and Curtis Blow and the Fearless Four. I was managing a lot of acts, and I was ready then, and I had produced a few acts that were successful, including Run DMC. But then I saw Rick wanted to start a record company as an independent company as opposed to some distribution deal, and it made sense. I put the money in with him. Now wrap your mind around the fact that this little rap label, a rare thing in the mid-80s, went from getting started in 1984 to having a gold-selling album under their belt, and then a movie with Warner Brothers in 1985 called Crush Groove that was about the early days of Def Jam, with actor Blair Underwood in his very first movie role playing a character inspired by Russell Simmons himself. Technically, Def Jam was still in its early days, and it had already had a Hollywood movie based on its backstory. The movie soundtrack includes songs from LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, and even famous singers like Chaka Khan and Debbie Harry. From this point forward, the success at Def Jam Records exploded. In 1986, with Columbia Records on board for mass distribution of Def Jam product, the wildly entertaining white rappers known as the Beastie Boys put out their debut album, Licensed to Ill, and didn't just make a record, they set records too. Licensed to Ill became the first rap album to ever hit the top of the Billboard album chart, along with becoming one of Columbia Records' fastest selling debut records to date. It clearly didn't stop selling over the course of time either, because roughly 29 years after its release, it became certified diamond by the RIAA in 2015 with over 10 million copies sold. Def Jam ended the 80s with more blockbuster albums from LL Cool J, Public Enemy, Slick Rick, and Third Base. In the 90s and 2000s, the roster was expanded to include EPMD, Nice and Smooth, Redman, Onyx, Method Man, Warren G, and became home to a whole host of smaller labels that pushed out albums from giants like Jay-Z, DMX, Ja Rule, Kanye West, Foxy Brown, and Ludacris. But with all that said, what happened with the rappers that have had issues during their time at Def Jam Records? First up to bat is Joe Budden. Yes, Budden was not always a popular podcaster and really one of the biggest voices in hip-hop media. When he was releasing music and making a name for himself with his hit song Pump It Up, some would say one-hit wonder, Joe Budden was signed to Def Jam Records in 2002. Things were looking up for the Joe Budden Def Jam connection, especially after releasing a gold-certified, self-titled debut album and pulling in a Grammy nomination. But 5 years after signing, he was pushed off the label and was a free agent all over again, with much of his career still ahead of him. What was the problem between Def Jam and Joe Budden? It actually started jumping off during the recording of what was supposed to be Budden's sophomore album, The Growth. Def Jam didn't just ask for new songs, they rejected the entire album, oddly enough after holding a listening session for the album. Joe made it known that he was super displeased with the stance that Def Jam took with this project, and he put out the first 2 installments of his Mood Music mixtape series to keep his buzz alive, and this would become a classic to Joe Budden fans, this entire series. In October,
you're getting ready to finally take the leap and form your own.
I just don't like how Joe Budden
or LLC.
talk down on other artists like Logic and
Let
shit.
Zen
If he didn't do
Business
that,
quickly
he'd have
and
been
easily
straight
form your
for me.
LLC.
October 2007, it was announced that Def Jam had officially let go of Joe Budden. To make matters worse, Jay-Z was in office as Def Jam's president at the time of Joe Budden's troubles, with rumors circling around that Jay allegedly was purposely blocking Budden's momentum after feeling slighted by Joe Budden in 2004. When Budden was dropped by Def Jam, Joey took aim at Jay-Z and the Def Jam building with 2 disses, Talk to Him and The Growth intro. In fact, dissing rappers was something that Joe Budden had no problem doing, as he's had feuds brewing with Drake, 50 Cent, and none other than Lil B at one point. Joe Budden also spent some time under Eminem's Shady Records umbrella as 1/4 of the Slaughterhouse Group, with top-tier lyricists Royce da 5'9", King Crooked, also formerly known as Crooked Eye, and Joel Ortiz. But Joe Budden retired from his music career in 2018 and became a full-time media personality and podcaster, hosting jobs for online programming such as Everyday Struggle, State of the Culture, as well as the Joe Budden podcast and frequently Pull Up. And speaking of Joe Budden's Pull Up podcast, this happened to be the platform where another well-known wordsmith spilled the beans about having dissatisfaction with being signed to Def Jam. None other than Jadakiss from The Lox, who famously took issue with their previous record label, P. Diddy.
My dad loved Jadakiss. My brother and my dad loved Jadakiss. Let's get back to the video. I'll talk all day.
Diddy's Bad Boy Records, who will be getting his own video. It all took place on an episode of Pull Up from April of 2019, where Jadakiss explained to show host Joe Budden how he and Fabulous, another Def Jam earner, had to make their money from the Jadakiss and Fabulous joint project called Friday on Elm Street. We made more money off the shows. The shows trump whatever money Def Jam gave us. I still get calls from some producers. They ain't get paid from that. So it's still messed up inside the system. Maybe they might have just got paid, but at least up until last month, a couple producers was calling. Kanye West is known for not holding his tongue when he's upset about anything whatsoever. The same held true when Ye spoke about record deals in general. But being that he's in business with Def Jam as a soloist and with his Good Music record label, you can't help but see that Def Jam was targeted in his rant as well. Back in September of 2020, Kanye West went all the way Kanye in his Twitter rant about the outdated exploitation tactics that record labels are still using. 90% of the record contracts on the planet are still on a royalty. A standard record deal is a trap to never have you recoup. And there's all these hidden costs like the distribution fees many labels put in their contracts to make even more money off our work without even trying. This message opened up the floodgates for other rappers to chime in, one of which was another Def Jam artist, the Maryland star Logic, who discussed an issue that he was having with getting a Lil Wayne feature taken care of by the label. Logic quotes Kanye's tweet and added, "I feel you. Def Jam ain't trying to pay Lil Tunechi his fee, so I guess the perfect remix ain't coming out. Oh, a few of my folks they money, honestly." Logic's frustrations with Def Jam didn't just stop there. On October 3rd, 2020, Logic took his issues with Def Jam to Instagram. He shared a screenshot of a text that he received from Kevin Keys Randolph, the Grammy-nominated producer that Logic has worked with. Along with the image, Logic ripped through a rant that stated the following: "At Def Jam, can you please pay my friends and musicians that have made my albums great? This is ridiculous at this point. I shouldn't be getting calls from close friends of mine in the middle of dinner with my wife about how you haven't paid them from the budget you've given me for this album. My boy Six ain't been paid all his money. Like, who produced the intro hasn't been paid all his money. Kevin Randolph, who the Rat Pack know as the voice of Kai, who I've worked with for years, hasn't been paid his money. Lil Kiki hasn't been paid his money. And my DJ Rhetoric, after I hit you up 2 months ago to pay this man, he still hasn't gotten his money. These are just the calls I've received. I don't even know who else in my friendships you're messing up. This has got to be the 6th call I received. You're ruining personal relationships here. This ain't Noah my A&R. This ain't the core homies on the label that helped me make my albums great. This is people deep in the company that I've never even met. Pay these people. What is wrong with you? I pay all my debts. This is not my debt to pay. These are friends, but they're hired musicians, and I demand you stop messing up my personal relationships. What is wrong with you? I'm not trying to start a war with my label, but at this point, it's utterly unfair. I mean, to this day, besides in advance, I have never seen a single cent in the 8 years I've been signed to this label. But I don't care about that money. I just want my homies paid. What's going on here? Y'all make me want to unretire and drop the last album I have under my contract just so I don't have to deal with y'all no more. Man, goddamn. Logic's frustrations were made crystal clear,
I could hear Logic
with
saying
the
the
only
last
foggy
part.
part of the
Man,
entire
goddamn.
situation being why these collaborators of his were never paid in the first place. But Jadakiss, Joe Budden, Kanye West, and Logic aren't the only ones that have spoken out about conflicts with Def Jam. Valet, an artist signed to Good Music with a Def Jam connection in the back end, also appeared to watch his own career freeze up in the process on the label side. After releasing his 2019 album Running Rich through Kanye West's Good Music imprint through Def Jam, the Chicago rapper has seemed to be in limbo over there, seemingly making things happen on his own via his 2020 and 2021 features on other people's songs, such as Are You Live for Chance the Rapper. I mean, even the Dallas rapper Maj, who was signed to Def Jam and was the 6th Dallas-based artist brought on board, he still has had his own Def Jam problems.
Fuck Def Jam. That's what I said, bro. Best of all, it is like it's too many legends saying fuck Def Jam. They fucked them over. I'm sorry.
Maj,
You can't have a shitty business environment because Def Jam is doing that. You stopping the long money from coming in. They're making all this short money, but you don't realize how many lawsuits gonna be coming your way, Def Jam. It might not come now. They might not even come. They might not even come, Def Jam. They might just be, okay, all right, we can't sue nothing because we signed the contracts. We did everything. That's what y'all gonna say. But you know what's gonna happen? People gonna start getting signed. People gonna stop accepting. People gonna stop wanting to sign to y'all. People like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Y'all don't pay me. Y'all don't pay me what I'm worth. I'm good. It happens. It happens.
Maj even went as far as to make an entire video about the experience he endured. I will never ever want to be a part of a label. I'll never want to be in the music industry. It's just not made for me. It's just not for me. Like, period. I'm lucky that I came out whole and came out stronger than what I used to be. Because honestly, I could have just bowed down and just kneeled down to whatever they wanted me to do. But where I come from, I wasn't like that. I'm not built like that, period. I'm glad that some way I found the light at the end. They didn't give me that much push. Nobody really showed me off as if I was the new artist or showed me off as if I'm like the next big thing in their eyes. Not only did Maj blatantly state that he no longer had any interest in being in the music industry, he said that he was looking to connect with his audience on YouTube and collect direct donations from his fans. Then there's Lil Dirk, the Chicago drill legend who had his fair share of record label drawbacks and having the greatest year of his life now. After signing to Def Jam early on in his career, Lil Dirk has only put out his first 2 studio albums on Def Jam, Remember My Name in 2015 and Lil Dirk 2 Times in 2016. When Lil Dirk sat down with Adam 22's podcast No Jumper, Dirk discussed how things went with Def Jam. It just ain't the right situation for me, Dirk said. It might fit the next person, but it ain't fit me. Def Jam wanted me to go pop. And when I had something, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. They were like, nah. I had no say so. It was just a bad situation for me. In order to make sense of Dirk's gripes, he obviously didn't walk into the record label offices as a pop star in the making. His authentic edge and aggression in drill music made that clear, even with his strong, catchy melodies. In March of 2018, Lil Dirk had a conversation with Billboard about his relationship with Def Jam getting dissolved. I've been with Def Jam Records for 5 years, and they gave me my first recording contract, so for that I'm forever grateful. But I'm a different artist than I was 5 years ago, and the time is right for a change. At the same time, Def Jam is making changes in their offices and trying a new direction. I didn't want to be a part of another regime change. Unfortunately for Def Jam, pushing Lil Dirk too hard to go in the direction of pop music backfired, because now with his deal with Alamo and Geffen and his own creativity, Lil Dirk has really came up with an undeniable hitmaker at this point. In his own creativity, Lil Dirk has been on one hell of a streak. His 2021 album, The Voice, has already pushed past the point of earning a gold-selling plaque, and, well, I should say 2020 album towards the end of it, and is benefiting from huge feature on the Drake hit Laugh Now Cry Later that's gone beyond the point of 500 million streams on Spotify alone. In all fairness, even with the list of dissatisfied past signees, Def Jam is really far from an empty building. In fact, it's continued to spread its reach beyond its physical location in New York City into a whole host of other countries, with entire separate artist rosters in Africa, the Philippines, Southeast Asia, the UK, and Vietnam. Lena Waithe, the writer, producer, and actor involved in TV shows such as The Chi and Master of None, and movies like Dear White People, has even partnered with Def Jam for the formation of her own record label called Hillman Grad Records. Lena Waithe made a statement about Hillman Grad Records, announcing, "At Hillman Grad Productions, we believe in identifying and amplifying new talent, and we want to continue to do that in the music industry. Jeff Harleston and his phenomenal team at Def Jam have given us their trust and their resources to help develop artists that not only have potential, but staying power. We look forward to the journey ahead." But with the reputation of Def Jam tainted by the difficult experiences that many rappers have had with the Story label, and just looking around and seeing which artists currently on Def Jam, specifically in hip-hop and rap, which were the origins of the record label, have even performed or broken out in the past 5 years, you start to see almost no one. It'll be interesting to see how they continue to rebuild and revitalize this legendary brand and image and legacy to resurrect what I believe to be the death of Def Jam Records and potentially reemerge as the go-to record label that rappers grew up dreaming to be a part of. But let me know what y'all think in the comments.
It's like a job, all right? If you have very great workers like myself, and like other people I know, and you pay them $4 an hour, $10 an hour, $8 an hour, and they work 70 hours in a week, so literally all day some days, you know, supposed to do that from like 7 all the way to like 11 at night, and you expect them to stay loyal to you. If you don't give them a raise, you give them a 25-cent raise, what do you expect's gonna happen? They're gonna start bullshitting their work. They're gonna start not taking a job too seriously. Like, the fuck? Def Jam stupid. I'm sorry. That's some dumb nigga shit, bro. I'm sorry. That's some dumb nigga shit. I can't get down with that. They should know better than that. That being said, I ain't about to go on no tangent because Def Jam might see this one day and I might be in their office. Wait, hold up, wait now. You know how it is in this industry. But I wouldn't sign no fucking label like Def Jam or 300 or none of them stupid labels. I would might well have my own label, make it work my own. You know what I'm saying? Make it work. Figure it out. Have a business manager or something. I don't fucking know. I don't know all the little intricate details, but I bet I could figure it out myself. That being said, be sure to like, subscribe. Stay tuned to the next video. And do y'all like Def Jam? Do y'all like Def Jam? Be real with me. Do y'all? Album coming out November 7th, independently. Stay independent. Peace.
Mario the poet.